Hey there, y'all. We are Between Two Teeth.
Hi guys, I'm Steffi Steph and this is Bobby. We
That's
got a
right.
special guest
Super
today.
special guest today, Mr. Drew Eason. What's your position? You're in Florida?
I am in Florida. I am the executive director of the Florida Dental Association.
Shout out.
Just about to hit my 10-year anniversary with Florida.
Oh,
wow.
nice. So I met Drew a long time ago when I was a dental student involved with ASDA, and you were the student liaison with the Michigan Dental Association, or
Yeah, I was the director of membership and student affairs. So yeah, I was visiting the schools quite a bit because I was super young.
Wait, what
How
was
are
that?
you?
What was that?
Yeah, exactly.
What was the title of that? The director of student affairs?
Director of membership and student affairs.
Very
And
cool.
Drew made us students feel like we were the most important people in the world.
Did you wouldn't have happened to
Oh.
know was it through the dental school there?
No, he's with
Both
the Michigan
schools,
Dental Association.
I was with the dental.
I'm trying to listen to Drew here.
Oh,
What did you
yeah.
say, Drew?
I worked for the Michigan Dental Association.
Oh,
And I was the
gotcha.
director of membership and student affairs for Michigan Dental. And so I would go to both the University of Michigan and
How
University
cool.
of Detroit University.
That's really
quite a bit.
cool.
So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a question. You've been an executive director now at the Florida Dental Association. What have you learned?
Well, I'll tell you one of the biggest things I learned, because I was the executive director in Michigan before I came here. I was with Michigan Dental Association for 17 years,
Wow.
the last 7 of which I was their executive director. And when I came to Florida, I thought the only difference I'm going to experience is a slightly larger state member-wise, and that the weather was going to be way better. And the weather is way better, but I'll tell you, I learned fast that one state can be so different from another state. And I find out that local dental societies, local dental society can be very different. So I came in with some assumptions that were quickly proven false, and had to shift gears and do things differently.
How easy is it for you to shift gears?
I'm pretty flexible. I go with the flow. I have no trouble shifting gears.
Yeah.
That makes you
I like
dynamic.
Yes, I like change. I'm willing to, like, something's not working, let's try something else. I'm okay with that.
Do you like change?
I actually like change.
She loves
but
change.
do you like change?
I don't like change at all.
Yeah.
You don't like change?
Well,
really? Okay.
so I say that there's things that need to change. A lot of times with a lot of issues, what got you here won't get you there. And if you don't change, you're going to run over. Why do you like change, Steffi?
Well, change to me is an opportunity to expand your horizons, and whatever doesn't kind of kill you makes you stronger in a way. And so an opportunity for change, kind of like you're saying, it makes you a little bit more dynamic. The more repetitions and the more iterations you have of such different situations, I think it's all good.
I gotta tell you, I think I challenge myself all the time when I don't like a new idea or a new direction, because I'll say to myself, am I feeling this way because I don't want to deal with doing something differently, or am I just being some old guy who's not willing to look at it from a different perspective? So I'm often sitting back and trying to analyze why am I being defensive when a certain thing comes up, or why am I reacting that way?
Oh, I love it.
A lot of times it's just different, and I just have to force myself to go with it for a while.
It's different.
Nice.
And, my experience right now, I can't believe that I'm on the state regulatory side, especially coming out of my time with ASDA and sort of being on the other side of the equation for that. But I think certainly we get trapped in this is how it's been done, and people are so resistant to new ideas. I think that's what's been a blessing for me to be exposed to this character here, is that she is definitely a change maker and comes in and looks at things and say, no, why is this like this? This is unacceptable, and just wants to throw the table.
I probably need to take a page out of your book, Drew, just from a standpoint of sometimes change just for the sake of change is not good. You got to analyze the situation, say, hey, is it just me not wanting to change, or is this actually kind of a good direction to go into? And so I think being a little bit more analytical.
Because I think when I came here, I had some pretty good success with things in Michigan. I thought, I'm just going to take some of these Michigan things, I'm going to plug it right in here and change how they're doing it. And in some cases that worked great, but there were several instances where, like, that they either weren't ready for that kind of change yet, or it just wasn't appropriate for Florida. So
I love that.
It's a learning curve.
It's almost like when one of the things, when I got out of residency and I started practicing, I thought the saying was systems work and people don't. So I thought if I took the systems from my residency and applied them to private practice, it'd be flawless. Was I wrong?
Oh yeah.
I was so wrong. Because what happened is that not only did the system have to change, it changed because the people changed and how the people
Mm.
related to each other changed.
How important are these soft skills?
I think they're way underrated,
Yeah.
way underrated. In fact, we spend so much time, on the big picture, which is important. You got your strategic plan, and we
Yeah.
got these big visions. People will spend so much time up there, and they ignore the stuff. And I say down here, I don't know how else to describe it. From simple things like how you answer your phone, how you greet people, how quickly do you
Yes.
respond to messages. So if you're ignoring all of those common courtesies on the bottom and the being friendly and welcoming, like we are talking about some of those things, if you're ignoring those, stuff up here doesn't matter because people aren't going to stick with you long enough to even get to that point.
Yes.
I had done a couple presentations around the country with the title called "Sweat the Small Stuff," because I think people aren't, and I think you should. I think you should sweat the small stuff because that's the stuff that will get people to quit before they've even started.
What are some examples of the small stuff for those who may be up the creek without a paddle?
Right. I always think, like, if I think of it from a dental practice perspective, it's the small stuff can be, what does the entrance to your practice look like? Is your landscaping nice, or is it all full of weeds and falling apart? Because people may make assumptions about you as a practitioner based on your landscaping. Is your lobby neat and orderly? Is your staff at the front desk, do they look up and smile at you? And even if they're on the phone, I've done this, and you'll walk into a practice and in my dentist's office, and she's on the phone, she at least makes eye contact and gives me the sort of "I'll be right with you" look, and then I'm good.
Yeah.
But sometimes you feel like you're standing there for 10 minutes, and do they even know I'm here?
Yeah.
Some of those small things make a big difference.
And people skills. And you reference that when I know when I did my MBA program in healthcare management and leadership, it was surprising to me, and I was happy that there was so much time and effort spent on the small stuff that you're talking about, and just the soft skills, and it's nuanced, and sometimes it takes practice. We had one of our faculty said he's an introvert, he's not a people person, and he used to have to put a note on his laptop at board meetings to say smile more, and he'd have to have a picture in his phone of his family and one picture of his fishing trip. Those are the only two pictures he had on his phone. He'd go in and he'd talk to other people and he'd say, "Oh, here's a picture of my family." And, "Oh, this is me on a fishing trip," to establish
Right.
rapport. Some people, it comes very naturally to them. Some, not at all.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you both go to a lot of meetings, and dental meetings in particular, and here's where I think some areas that can fall apart because people think it will happen naturally, and in meetings you have to be purposeful about it. It reminds me, I don't know if you've ever been a member of or been in a Toastmasters club before, those speaking clubs in
I love
Toastmasters.
I know what you're
toast.
talking
I
about.
love toast with
Yes.
marmalade. Love it.
It's yeah, well, I like it with grape jelly, but Toastmasters speaking clubs have somebody whose job it is. You have a job as the greeter, and you stand near the door and you greet not only new people but people who are already a member. You welcome them. You make sure they're introduced. I've gone to a lot of dental meetings where you walk in, and if you're a new person, you just kind of walk in and you don't know what to do. You don't know anybody.
Yes.
People, not on purpose, but they'll be in there, hooking up with friends and talking, and they're not on purpose ignoring you. But if you're that person, I've seen people stand there for a few minutes and then feel awkward and just leave.
Yes.
Uh,
I love
you
that
have to
comment.
assign it.
Yes.
You have to assign it.
You know, as a newer doc, I've been that person that's just walking in and you're like, and there's so many great people in the room, but not, not everyone knows naturally to do this. Real quick shout out, Dr. Rudy Lydell. He was one of those people
Yes.
when I was on a ADA council for the first time, and he was our trustee representative. He was that person who was like, "Hey, this is how it works. This is what you do." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so appreciative of that." It's not automatic, and it has to be intentional.
It has to be. You ever go to, and you can think about, the people who it comes natural to. I always think about when I go visit a house of a friend or a relative. Some people, you visit their house, the minute you walk in the door, like, "What can I get you to drink?" "Water." "Come on, let me get you something." They have snacks out. They want to make sure you're comfortable. They let you know where the bathroom is. Other houses, you can go and no matter how obvious you're being, if you're going,
Yeah.
Oh,
They
could
don't
you
ever
say
off-
that?
they don't ever offer you anything, and I'm not the type to just get up and walk and go to the refrigerator. And
Yeah.
so I think some dental meetings I've been to, it seems like everybody's on board and understands it. Others,
Yeah.
they just need to be more intentional about
And
it.
I know we're going to have a separate conversation about things that we need to do in organized dentistry, but frankly, that's, I think, one of the biggest ones is to make people feel welcome.
And not only that is just as we're talking to you, Drew, like also your tone, your pacing, how you say things. It's welcoming. It's different. And sometimes
Mhm.
you can have like you said, the way you answer a phone, you can be like, "What's going on? Hello,
Yeah.
quickly. I'm busy."
Drew has
It
been
doesn't
one of the
Right.
translate.
neatest people that I met on my adventure during dental school. And
Oh, well, that's
during my ASDA time, I met a whole lot of people. And as a student, sometimes you feel as though you don't belong in various places. And you have that special skill. And I know that you kind of you act as a great mentor, I'm sure, for people around you because that type of thing is contagious to see that. So,
and we talk about even when you're talking about in a meeting and you have to share bad news or you have to do something, we always say it's all in the how you deliver this. Three people can deliver the same message and get completely different responses just based on how they deliver it.
Oh yeah.
It's such an important piece.
Weird.
And we talk about the whole working a room thing. One of the books I wanted to point out in case you're into books.
can't
This
Yes.
is an
read.
What was it?
oldie but goodie, and you probably have already heard of it. It's called How to Work a Room
Oh,
by Susan Roane,
Ooh.
Roane. It's an amazing book. Sorry, my computer's telling me that we have a meeting now.
that's okay. You're very, oh, it's our meeting. Okay. You're
Our meeting.
early. That's terrific. That's the way my life goes. The other thing I love, and I know Steph's typing out that book.
You said how to work a room?
Yeah, by Susan Roane, Roane.
Gotcha.
In my MBA program, one of our faculty is like, you should be reading a book on leadership every month.
Mhm.
Well, yes,
And
that's
it's
true.
a skill I think you have to keep working on continuously.
Yeah, we were talking about, kind of to your point just now, as far as not just how to work a room, but in Seattle, our Seattle Study Club was last night, and had this conversation. We paused the video and we talked about how do you deliver bad news in clinic, and not with patients necessarily, but with staff or your team, and you're just trying to figure out how best to communicate the tough stuff, and that's where I think soft skills. It's easy. I guess from my perspective, it's easier to be friends with someone when you don't have to get something done. There's nothing you
Mhm.
have to accomplish. You just have to hang out. That's
Yes,
easy. Everyone,
it
I
is.
think most people can get that one,
And,
right? But when you have something to accomplish, when you have a common goal, it really puts a strain on relationships. And that's where those
and,
soft skills come in very
and
well.
I would say, Steph, before you deliver that message, there's a lot of components that you carry with you before you give that message.
How so?
They either know or don't know a lot of things about you and what you do and how you do it before you say that message.
And when you say you, are you saying one, as in as
Individually,
if
yes,
somebody
individually.
comes up? Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And one of the things we talked about it last night, and it was from SmileCon, listening to Brene Brown, and it's
Mhm.
impacted me
Yeah.
since I heard her talk and talking about being clear and being kind. And if you really shoot for both of those things, and I'm often very clear, and some would say less than kind. I
I
wouldn't, but others
it,
others might.
she was talking about throwing nice out the window because she says that nice comes with ambiguity.
And I love that saying because that is something I'm constantly working on. I I I'm one of those people who has a high need to make sure other people are happy. So if I
Mm,
have to have a staff person in my office to talk about an area that they're not doing as well as they should, I think I've done a good job of doing that. And if there's another staffer in there with me, when the person who's bringing the challenge to us leaves, they'll say, "I don't think they understood how important this is. We were too nice about it."
Yes.
So I agree with her. I think it's all in the how, but I also have to make sure that I'm not being so nice that the seriousness of the message is
You
lost.
can be very
absolutely.
unclear
Hmm.
by
And
being too kind.
and Drew, I probably reflect that in the way I handle conflict. And it's just, and I think you have a lot more experience than I do on this. And it sounds like you've got it more figured out. but it is tough, especially if you feel the need
Still
to be
working on
like, you feel the need to be a little bit nice and leave someone feeling good about themselves and the situation when they leave your office.
Well,
it, and that's what I
and I think part of this discussion that can be great, we obviously have three different people on this call that have different roles, different sets of
want.
experiences, different lengths of runway, and we're all still trying to work on being the leader, being the communicator, being the person that we want to be. And that's okay. You're not supposed to come out of the gate as an exceptional leader.
Well, it goes back to what you said earlier about how it's important to read a leadership book once a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm knocking on 60's door already, and I'm still looking and saying I've got so much more to learn,
Yeah.
and I learn from so many different people, from people who are in high school all the way up to people who are older than me. I mean, everybody's got something to offer somebody else, and we have to be opening to listening to that.
And that's a good way, and I think we'll end it on that, at being open to listening, being open to change, um, mentor those around you, and it's sort of mentoring up and mentoring down. Anything else to add there, Steffi?
I love the fact that your history or your background comes out of Michigan in the role of the director, or kind of communicating with the director of student affairs. One of my favorite people at my own dental school was Moira Allen, and she was the assistant to the director of student affairs. Great person. And the people who interact with students and how you interact with dental students, you change lives, because someone like her really impacted me, and she was always there and I loved it. And so I know I can see that in you, and I'm really happy that you have that history and that background as
I
well.
got to tell you, I had to stick in the student affairs. That was a request that I made of the executive director at the time, was to add student affairs to my title, because
Oh.
my master's degree is actually in student affairs. I have a master's degree in college and university administration with a focus in student affairs. So I wanted to make sure it looked like I was using my degree.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that is absolutely, absolutely fantastic. And people that work with students, they are amazing people, because they're doing things for so many really cool reasons. So we appreciate what you do. And if you like what we're talking about, please hit the subscribe.
Thanks, guys.